young men aren't doing well. Falling into a gambling addiction is a strong indicator for financial ruin and early death.
Deaths of despair are up, and for the very first time in history, our life expectancies are dropping.
So many things that happen on your phone are visible to these companies.
Addiction is widely accepted as a disease, one of which that can be extremely profitable for the right companies in the right place at the right time.
Oh my gosh, it's everywhere. You can't walk into a male dormitory in a college campus without sports.
Ban on sports.
If you're a league, this is going to be a seismic shift.
Hi there, my name is Dylan. I'm a full-time software engineer, part-time content creator. By the way, we are closing in on 10,000 subscribers, so please consider helping me and my team out a ton by hitting that subscribe button down below. Back to the video. To understand how we got here, we must first go back. So the first known record of gambling was in 2300 BC. Wait, not that far back. In 1993, bookmakers introduced teletext, which would display live odds and introduced online phone betting services.
I'm gonna break the record. I'm already 14-0, and you know it because you've been calling me.
Phone betting and teletext were the very first introductions of convenience culture bleeding into the gambling industry. No longer do you have to go to Las Vegas or Atlantic City. Simply pick up the phone, give us a call, and we'll place your bets for you.
I love this game.
The early days of online gambling in the US relate to the boom in the tech sector, especially the launch and advances in new internet technology. As the first internet service providers brought regions and countries together, other companies saw the potential of having millions of people connected digitally and exchanging information in real time with one another and with computers. The World Wide Web launched in the public domain in 1993 and brought gambling directly to the people who had bought their very first computers and connected to the internet. Pioneer websites emerged, launching online casinos with poker and blackjack options as some of the first games offered. Around 1994, two companies, Microgaming and Intercasino, would operate the very first online casino platforms. Due to relaxed laws and pure ignorance, internet gambling would absolutely explode into the late 90s, increasing from an estimated 15 sites at the end of 1996 to more than 200 by the end of 1997. More software companies would emerge, and by 1998, 700 internet casinos processed real money wagers in multiple currencies, generating nearly $1 billion in annual revenue. By the early 2000s, online gambling and online gaming was a multi-billion-dollar industry with tons of different companies competing for market share. As broadband internet became more widespread, the online gaming experience improved significantly, allowing for smoother gameplay, better graphics, and the introduction of live dealer games. This technological advancement made online gambling more appealing to those players that required a more immersive and more realistic online casino experience. But eventually, this rapid expansion would draw increased scrutiny from governments and regulators, particularly in the United States. The first major federal action came to fruition in the United States with the Unlawful Internet Gambling Act of 2006. The Gambling Enforcement Act specifically made it illegal for financial service providers, such as banks and payment processors, to facilitate transactions for illegal gambling activities. Unfortunately, the Gambling Enforcement Act came with this loophole that would be exploited in the coming years. A subsection of the Gambling Enforcement Act came with a carve-out that made exceptions for skill-based games, aka fantasy sports, which allowed for gambling companies like FanDuel, DraftKings, and PrizePicks to operate legally. Despite the Gambling Enforcement Act, online gambling persisted, with offshore operators continuing to serve U.S. players, but eventually leading to the infamous Black Friday crackdown in 2011, where major online poker sites were seized and shut down by the U.S. Department of Justice. Some states, New Jersey, Nevada, Pennsylvania, would go on to legalize online gambling, bypassing restrictions within their borders. Which brings us to the real launch vehicle for online gambling. This is where gambling is taken from a low-orbit issue and rocketed straight into the fourth dimension and into the stratospheres.
Send those f***ers into the stratosphere.
We therefore hold that the passbook provision outlawing state authorization of sports gambling is unconstitutional.
If you love gambling on sports, May 14th, 2018 changed everything.
Breaking news: the Supreme Court this morning striking down the federal ban on sports betting.
If you're an operator, if you're a state, if you're a league, this is going to be a seismic shift.
In May 2018, the U.S. Supreme Court would strike down a ban on sports betting, declaring it unconstitutional. This pushed the decision from the federal government to the states, effectively legalizing sports betting. And as of 2024, over 38 states and Washington, D.C. have legalized sports betting, with some allowing for both in-person and online gambling. Whew! I've got you all caught up now. It's been 7 years since the Supreme Court deregulated sports gambling, and every year since, the amount of cash changing hands over games grows. A few days before Sunday's Super Bowl, the American Gaming Association predicted that about $1.39 billion would be gambled on that single event. But for those who use any of the online platforms and apps to place bets, it's not a single event. Gamblers can bet on almost every aspect of the game: score, score per quarter, first touchdown, who would be selected MVP, which team would win the coin toss, etc. One article explained that one could even wager on the length of John Baptiste's rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner.
For the land of the free.
Sports gambling went from illegal to fully integrated at remarkable speeds. Both ESPN and Sports Illustrated now have their own betting apps, and the different possible bets, missed spreads, and predictions are now nightly features on SportsCenter and other programs. In other words, sports reporters now report on the odds as if they were describing the game itself. In every way possible, gambling is now part of the game. The rapid integration of sports gambling into mainstream media has not only changed how games are consumed, but it's completely taken all the good faith and thrown it out the window. It's ironic that sports used to be a place you would go to learn discipline and hard work and be inspired by the capabilities of the human body, but now it's just another dopamine machine. The normalization of betting odds and promotions during broadcasts influenced the behavior of athletes, officials, and even fans, leading to compromised game outcomes and a shift in sports culture towards profit-driven motives. I mean, the NFL is totally scripted now, right? Right, guys? Right? Right?
This is Gronkowski on second down. It's buried in the back. It's a live football. Marcel Reese picks it up and he cuts it. Lost the football. Bouncing around. It's still bouncing around. Now the officials will...
Gambling corrupts pretty much everything it touches, and sports gambling is no different. A few days ago, a lawyer argued somewhat convincingly on X that the surprising trade of NBA superstar Luka Doncic to the Lakers may have had more to do with gambling calculations than basketball calculations, given that no other explanation for that decision makes sense. The fact that the gambling conspiracy is at least somewhat believable should be noted.
When you realize that the company doesn't care about people, makes you feel appalled and sort of disgusted within yourself, because you know that you're helping a company harm people and virtually deliberately harm people, because the culture is that it's all about revenue. It ruins people's lives, it takes their money, it ruins their families, the staff either indoctrinated or miserable, and then on top of it all, it's changed what sport is.
The pervasiveness of online sports gambling has led to so many scandals at this point. For instance, in 2023, former MacArthur FC captain Ulysses Davila faced charges for allegedly participating in spot fixing by deliberately receiving yellow cards in exchange for money. Let us never forget that. What was his name? Tim Donaghy, who would bet on NBA games as a referee in the NBA. He even went as far to make claims in the early days of his investigation that he made bets on the game, but it absolutely in no way influenced his decisions on the court. I mean, come on. What absolute bullshit. If you have financial stake in the game you are officiating, you are obviously going to make decisions that affect the outcome of the game in your favor, whether consciously or subconsciously. NBA bought part of Fanatics. They are a big investor. Fanatics launched their own sportsbook, ergo the leagues themselves own a piece of the betting that happens on their own sports. No journalist will cover this. Real Sports did a segment about it and then the show was canceled. Coincidence? Probably. But ESPN has their own sports betting app now. It's not in their interest to report on how pervasive it is. No one is going to report on shit, even if it's rubbed in our faces. It's honestly so gross. No league has any dignity anymore. It's not just the NBA, all pro sports. And don't even bother with college. The players are in on the grift there. You're telling me a teenager can bet on themselves and the games they are playing? I'm sure there's no point shaving. I mean, this makes total sense, especially for college athletes who just recently started getting compensated with NIL deals. If you're offered hundreds of thousands of dollars to fake an injury or get only exactly 3 rebounds as a college student, you're probably going to take it. Even more so if the pro leagues are likely not in your future. These are just laws of incentives. None of this is to mention how exploitive the whole thing is. Imagine being a former gambling addict in his 50s who likes to watch his favorite team every now and then. Imagine how horrible it would be to be reminded for 2 straight hours that all you need to do to go back to your addiction is to download an app and link your credit card. How many gambling addicts has this recent trend created? I saw a post the other day from a former gambling addict who was saying that the average for someone at Gamblers Anonymous meetings has gone down significantly. And are you really okay with pushing this on kids? When I was a kid and there was a big game on national TV the next day, in addition to imitating the players, we would act out or talk about whatever commercial was on. Now I can imagine kids on the playground are acting out gambling ads and talking about how much money they could make if they bet on the right player or the right team. Staying in the league, Jonte Porter was banned from the NBA for betting on himself.
The NBA has just handed down one of its harshest punishments ever
to the Toronto Raptors' Jonte Porter for violating the league's gambling rules,
limiting his own participation in games, sharing confidential information, and betting on as many as 13 NBA games himself.
This is the exact problem with sports betting. Quote, "I know what I did was wrong, unlawful, and I am deeply sorry." Well, that's great, Jonte, but why did you even do this in the first place? To get out from large number of gambling debts. For f***'s sake. Calvin Ridley was suspended in 2022 for placing bets on NFL games, including the Atlanta Falcons, which was his own team. Ivan Toney, an English soccer player, was banned for 8 months after admitting to betting on over 232 soccer games. 232 soccer games. At Iowa and Iowa State University, a bunch of college football players and college basketball players decided to take it upon themselves to bet on their own games. Betting has been consistently ruining sports. And look, I'm sure match fixing or odds fixing has been something that has been going on since the very dawn of gambling itself, but the absolute pervasiveness and the frequency of which this is occurring now is pretty egregious.
No. You are falling for it. You are playing right into their hands. This is just what they want you to do. This is egregious!
The surge in sports betting has also increased harassment of athletes by bettors. The NCAA has reported a rise in cases where student athletes face abuse and threats from individuals who have wagered on their performances, exacerbating the mental health challenges that students already have while in college. College is hard enough, let alone being berated by somebody because you didn't, get 5 rebounds. It's just ridiculous. I really enjoy low and no stakes fantasy football, but what really gets me is seeing a player get seriously hurt and then all the comments on a thread are people whining that their injury cost them money on a bet. It's super dehumanizing. There's even a proposition to ban sports prop betting on college athletes due to this issue. We believe that when bettors can't gamble on college athletes' individual performances, they're far less likely to attempt to scrutinize, coerce, or harass student athletes, Baker said. Proposition bets or prop bets are a wager in which bettors gamble on something besides the game's final outcome, such as whether a certain player will score or how many assists they log. Such bets on college sports are currently allowed in about 20 states, or roughly half of those that have legalized sports gambling. Those wagers can lead to harassment, Baker said. The NCAA says 10 to 15% of its Division I athletes have reported being harassed by bettors, an experience especially common among football and basketball players. They get demands for money from unhappy bettors for trivial things that don't impact the result on the field, Baker said. Many have received death threats from bettors, and they also receive other in-person threats and accusations directed at them while they're leaving or coming onto the field of play. This is obviously awful. Being in college is hard enough, let alone being harassed by some degenerate gambler named Billy down the street. Yeah. Sports betting has completely ruined watching sports with friends. We will be watching a good game, then someone will be constantly reminding you that he needs another player to get 35 rush yards to hit their parlay. Oh boy, do we really need more reasons to be on our dopa-bag phones? With sports fans watching events because of their gambling behavior, to some degree, it's unsurprising that in-play betting has become a critical part of the viewing experience for many. A 2024 International Betting Integrity Association study on the availability of sports betting products estimated that 47% of all bets placed this year will be on in-play wagers. This form of betting is likely to keep viewers engaged in games even if they become uncompetitive. In the Variety Intelligent Platform data referenced above, there was significant split in bettors when it came to paying attention to blowout games depending on what they had bet. In retrospect, legalizing sports betting was a horrible idea.
Yep.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was.
In 44% of games, the winning team came back in the fourth quarter.
In 2023, the NFL Players Association issued a memo warning players about the risks of gambling, despite the league's partnership with the sports betting companies worth well over $1 billion. The NFL has explicitly banned multiple players for violating their sports betting policies. That's an interesting contradiction between their public stance and their business interests. Advertisements play on psychological biases, such as the better than average effect, where you think you are smarter than the average human being. Gambling companies prey on this. Use all of your knowledge and you can win big too. It's so easy that Kevin Hart can do it. In my experience with gambling, and I've done a decent bit of gambling in my day, it has completely ripped away my actual intrinsic drive or my intrinsic love of the sport. I stop worrying about the game and I start praying that Tom Brady comes out of retirement and throws a 60-yard touchdown pass to Josh Allen. I just played cards last night with a bunch of gamblers. We didn't talk about the sport on which they were betting. We talked about the lines for the game. Gambling addiction and addiction in general is a huge problem in America. For example, I was so sad to see Zach Lowe let go from ESPN. He was one of the few guys still talking about the sport and not hot takes that have overtaken ESPN culture. I wonder why. Maybe we shouldn't have done ESPN Bet, huh? Many members in the audience are just there for the gamble and not there for the actual love of the sport. It's a really unfortunate time for sports in America. As a result, many members of the audience are more likely to participate in sports betting after viewing these advertisements. With increased audience participation, sportsbooks generate more revenue. This benefits sports teams since many are direct partners with these companies. Sports betting helps grow the fan base and engagement of sports leagues. As sports betting grows in popularity, teams and leagues receive additional ways of engagement. Leagues like the NFL now display live sports betting odds on TV for viewers to follow along, and it is working. This season, the NFL is averaging an average of around 18 million viewers on a regular season game, a 20% increase from 2017. The legalization of sports betting has been one of the reasons why viewership has increased. Some fans fear that the integrity of games is in jeopardy due to sports gambling, of which I've already provided several instances in which this is true. Last season, the NFL suspended 10 players for gambling, 7 of which betted on the NFL. Are we on track for a 1919 Black Sox of the 21st century? The 1919 Black Sox famously threw the World Series in order to help local bookies win bets and took a cut of the profit. Oh baby, we are on track, all right. Actual professional gamblers are getting banned from sports betting platforms for online gambling. If they think you are a professional gambler, your account will likely get banned or limited. Don't get this confused. These are private platforms, private companies, and private industries. You have no right to gamble, and these companies can kick you off the platform whenever they deem you no longer profitable. So let me get this straight. We have players and referees throwing matches for gambling. We addict the general population and convince them that gambling is somehow this okay thing to do now. And for those very select few people who do make money and win, we ban them from the platform? Is that right? How is this even legal?
Customers would be categorized based on their profitability. So if a customer lost millions of dollars, they would be labeled a VIP. And only the best staff would talk to them. But if you were a problem customer, that meant that you were winning money. So you'd be labeled with a big badge that said that you're a problem, and that needs to be dealt with.
Algorithms deteriorate this situation even further, using personal engagement and personal data to increase addiction. Gambling companies track user behavior to target vulnerable moments when they are most likely to place irrational bets. FanDuel likes to show you articles with insights and information so you think you are making an informed decision. They send you offers for better odds at moments when you are more likely to bet.
Your financial data, so many things that happen on your phone are visible to these companies. This is a laboratory for experimenting with people and their behavior.
They encourage you to do crazy parlays of which our minds can't comprehend, factoring that many variables all into one thing. Sportsbooks actively promote parlays due to their profitability, often offering pre-made parlays with enticing names and odds to attract bettors. This strategy has significantly increased betting volume and sportsbook revenue. I'm sure that's not harming bettors at all.
And let me be explicit here. I think that what we are witnessing in real time right now is like Sackler family level harm done to our country's population, the effects of which will be felt for generations to come. Young men aren't doing well. We're lonely, our anxiety is high, our literacy is low, and falling into a gambling addiction is a strong indicator for financial ruin and early death. If you are not playing with an advantage, you are going to lose. And since the vast majority of bettors don't understand what an advantage really looks like, I'm deeply pessimistic about these trends. You will get banned very quickly from any sportsbook for advantaged gambling. Banned is shorthand. What they really do is limit your maximum bet size. My max bet size at bet365.com is $2.
You know what the real problem is? Gambling is insanely addictive. Gambling companies profit most from the, quote, whales. The small 1% who are hyper addicted to the platform make them the bulk of their money. Over 80%, in fact. The National Council on Problem Gambling estimates that 1% of U.S. adults, approximately 2 million people, meet the criteria for severe gambling addiction, while another 2 to 3%, 4 to 6 million, experience mild to moderate problems. And yet, despite this being a small percentage of the population, they account for the majority of gambling revenue. In Australia, for example, just 0.5% of adults are considered problem gamblers, but they contribute to an overall 40% of the estimated revenue. What's even worse in this addiction is you actually believe that in the next bet could change your life. And that assumption is right. It is true. It's very unlikely, but it's true. You could win all of your money back and then some. That's the problem with gambling, is there is some tiny sliver of hope in the next bet truly changing everything for you. The industry may claim to want to prevent problem gambling, but its profits largely come from the compulsions of people with a problem. A small number of people place the majority of bets. I don't know anyone who's gotten to gambling and thought they were a better person as a result of it. Gambling is truly one of those things that is just a net loss to society. In no way can any good come from having a constant casino or lottery in your pocket. Fortunately, in the United States, we can very easily compare where gambling is legal and where gambling is not legal, and we're able to cross-examine both of these states to see the effects it's having on society. Savings is down and gambling is up. And if it's anything like what happened in Australia and the UK, suicide rates will be up too. Further, research supports these findings, indicating that the introduction of online sports betting is associated with increased credit card debt, higher overdraft rates, and reduced credit availability among low savings households. These financial strains highlight the broader economic consequences to legalizing sports betting and gambling. Studies from the UK and Australia have also explored the relationship between gambling and mental health. A Swedish study found that problem gamblers had a rate of 15 times the general population. The NCAA even released a video about where do you draw the line.
That's a timeout on betting. It completely changed the game, and you didn't even notice.
That campaign was prompted by growing concerns over young athletes and students getting sucked into gambling. All the while, Michigan State and the University of Colorado had partnerships with gambling companies. Young men are their target audience and the highest demographic at risk. A study commissioned last year by the NCAA found that 2/3 of college-age men have wagered money on sports, and men were more likely to wager very frequently. The gambling industry is specifically marketing to them. Young men are stupid, me included. We take extremely high risks, and our frontal lobes don't even fully develop until age 25. Mine just got developed about a year ago. I'm 26 now. I have personally seen what gambling can do. My group of friends used to take trips to the casino at least once or twice a year. It was always a blast. We don't do this anymore. In the last year, one of my friends, who wasn't doing the greatest financially to begin with, was gambling incessantly, mostly with online casinos, but also with sports betting. We had no idea until it was too late. He ended up racking close to $60,000 in debt in high interest loans, started pawning off things he loved, hobbies. It's really like any other addiction. Gambling affects those who are least able to afford gambling in the first place. This is called a regressive tax. Gambling, sports betting, the lottery are essentially regressive taxes on the poor. Look at these numbers. Americans have wagered $450 billion in the last 6 years alone on sports betting. That's billion with a B. And people wonder why they're broke. I wonder why. 96% of those who gamble lose money. 96%. That's basically everyone who gambles. No wonder they encourage you with all this free bonus money in the beginning. Not even to mention that these free bonuses are tax write-offs for these corporations. They are essentially tax write-offs. It's free money for the company, but it's not free money for you. It's free money for you in the sense that they're trying to addict you to their platform. And for those small subset of people who do get addicted, it is extremely costly.
I think there were days where I started gambling at 10 p.m. and had lost like $2,000 by 11 and spent from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. trying to get that money back and failing, and then finally going to bed at 4 and getting up and doing it again the next day.
Everyone wins besides you. You lose. In U.S. households earning less than $30,000 a year, they spend on average roughly $412 on gambling each year, compared to just $105 for those earning $75,000 or more a year. This means lower income people are spending a much greater proportion of their earnings on problem gambling, hoping for a financial escape that almost never comes. This trend mirrors patterns seen in other countries, with the UK and Australia serving as a cautionary tale. If you in any way or form think of this as an income stream, you are statistically speaking guaranteed to fail. If gambling continues to be legalized, the financial strains on lower income households will only continue to propagate. People bet on the hope of solving financial problems, but instead they spiral into deeper debt and desperation while the gambling industry reaps massive profits. Without proper regulation and support systems, legalizing sports gambling will not lead to benefits of those most in need. In conclusion, to summarize, a famous gambler on Twitter summarized this entire video in one perfect tweet. He said, "Legalized sports betting as it currently stands will devastate America in a similar fashion to the opioid epidemic. At bare minimum, I'd recommend these changes. 1. Limit ads. Sports betting ads should be restricted, especially those targeting youth whose decision-making isn't fully developed. 2. No credit cards. Ban credit card deposits to prevent gambling with money people don't have. 3. Protect vulnerable bettors. Prevent sites from exploiting problem gamblers or VIPs with higher custom limits while simultaneously banning or restricting professionals or winning gamblers. As someone who made a living on betting on sports in most unregulated outlaw markets, these are my personal views. I can see how it may come across as hypocritical to some, but thanks for coming to my TED Talk." The final stage of sports betting in America looks like a casino in your pocket. There's a handful of places across the United States that have already legalized iGaming, which is essentially an app on your phone that is a literal casino. This is exactly what we cannot let happen. In sum, you can't win. And if you do, you'll be banned from the platform. Oh, while I have you, if you're interested in watching something else, consider watching this video right here that I did on Elon Musk. Everything that could possibly ever be wrong with him. Check it out.